He said she was just his sister and that she needed a place to stay, until I found a birth certificate with his name under father, and a text that read, "Make her feel crazy first, then she'll leave quietly." My husband's sister moved into our house to get back on her feet. 4 months later, my 5-year-old daughter called her Mommy Becca while pointing at my wedding photo. I laughed at first, but the way my husband went silent told me everything I needed to know. My name is Nora. I'm 41, a high school art teacher living in Vermont. I've been married to Elliot, 45, for 9 years. We built a quiet, intentional life together. We adopted our daughter Sage after years of fertility struggles. Our life wasn't glamorous, but it was solid, stable, or so I thought. Elliot's younger sister, Becca, had always been a bit of a wild card. She was the kind of person who'd blow into town for a weekend, cause emotional chaos, then vanish. The last time I saw her before all this was 3 years ago, when she got into a screaming match with her ex at Thanksgiving dinner and shattered a wine glass against the wall. I made Elliot promise we'd host future holidays on our own after that. So when he told me Becca was getting divorced and needed a place to crash for a few weeks, I hesitated. He looked at me like I was a monster for even pausing. "She's my sister, Nora," he said. "She has nowhere else." She moved in the following Monday, with 4 bags of clothes, a cat that destroyed furniture, and an attitude that made every room feel 10 degrees colder. I tried. I really did. I cooked meals for her. I offered to help her job hunt. I even let her borrow my scarves and shoes for interviews. I convinced myself it was temporary. That's what you do for family, right? But by week 3, I started to notice things, subtle things, like how she never referred to me by name, just her or your wife. How she would jump into conversations Elliot and I were having and redirect them toward herself. Or how Sage, who used to draw pictures of mommy and daddy, suddenly started drawing Becca holding Elliot's hand instead. I brushed it off, gaslit myself into thinking I was paranoid. Elliot said I was overanalyzing. "She's going through a hard time. Be patient." Then came the night that broke my patience. I came home late from a parent-teacher conference. As I walked through the door, I heard laughter. Not just casual laughing. It was the kind of laughter that makes your stomach drop because you know it's not meant for you. Becca and Elliot were on the couch. She was in one of his sweatshirts. His favorite one. The one I gave him for our 5th anniversary. She was curled into his side, holding his phone, showing him something that made them both crack up. They didn't hear me at first. I cleared my throat, pretending like I hadn't just watched my husband look at his sister the way he used to look at me. Elliot jumped up. "Hey, you're home late." Becca just smiled and tossed me a lazy, "Hey," like I was the guest here. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Elliot snored beside me. My mind spiraled. I thought about every interaction over the past month. How they always had private jokes now. How she suddenly knew his favorite whiskey brand. How she took over Sunday grocery runs. Their Sunday grocery runs. I confronted him the next morning. "I think Becca should find her own place now." He looked up from his coffee. "What?" "I think she's been here long enough. She's working. She has money. It's time." Elliot blinked like I just asked him to kick a puppy onto the highway. "She's my sister, Nora. She just got divorced. And we just got over a decade of infertility hell and adopted a child, but no one gave me 4 months to lie on someone else's couch." He didn't say anything. Just left his coffee half finished and walked out. That night, Becca made steak for dinner. Elliot's favorite, medium rare. He looked at her like she was made of gold. And then Sage, my little girl, came running in with a drawing. "Look, Mommy, it's Daddy, me, and Mommy Becca at the beach." I swear I forgot how to breathe. Elliot froze. Becca froze. I just stared at my daughter. "Sweetheart," I said gently, "why did you draw Becca as your mommy?" She shrugged. "Because she said families can change." I stood up, walked out of the kitchen, and sat in my car for an hour. Not crying, not screaming. Just silent. Processing the world I thought I lived in, and the one I was clearly actually in. The next day I went to work like usual, but I came home early. I don't know why. Maybe I just wanted to catch a moment. Maybe I hoped I'd see nothing, and my paranoia would finally have proof it was just that. Paranoia. Instead, I walked into the house and found Becca in my robe, standing in my kitchen on the phone, laughing. The call ended when she saw me. I looked at her. Really looked. And that's when I noticed it. Her fingernails. They were painted deep burgundy. The same shade I painted mine for our wedding anniversary 3 weeks ago. The same bottle I thought had mysteriously disappeared from my vanity. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked upstairs. Elliot wasn't home yet. But on his side of the bed, his sweatshirt, the same one Becca wore the other night, was neatly folded. Tucked underneath it, almost deliberately placed, was my wedding album. Wide open. To a photo of Elliot, kissing my forehead. Becca's lipstick stain was on the edge of the page. I stared at it for a long time, and then I picked up my phone. I texted Elliot. "We need to talk, without your sister." He didn't reply, but Becca did. 1 minute later. "Don't worry, Nora. You'll understand everything soon." When I got Becca's message, "Don't worry, Nora. You'll understand everything soon," I stared at it for a long time, trying to make sense of what the hell she meant. I waited for Elliot to come home that night. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched him walk through the door like everything was normal, like he hadn't ignored my message, like his sister wasn't slowly sinking her claws into every inch of my life. He kissed Sage goodnight, told her to brush her teeth, then walked into the kitchen where I was pretending to do dishes. "Hey," he said. "You wanted to talk?" I dried my hands, turned to face him, and asked flatly, "Are you sleeping with her?" Elliot froze. The air felt like it had been sucked out of the room. He blinked. "What?" "Nora, no, what are you talking about?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just said, "Becca, your sister. Are you sleeping with her?" His mouth opened, then closed. His hands trembled just slightly. "That's disgusting," he finally said. "She's my sister, Nora." I stared at him. "Then why is Sage calling her Mommy Becca? Why is she wearing your sweatshirt? Why is she using my robe and laughing in my kitchen while flipping through my wedding album?" He didn't answer. I kept going. "She paints her nails the same shade I wore for our anniversary. She knows how you like your steak. She puts herself in every damn space I exist in, like she's rehearsing for my role." He looked down. "I'm not crazy, Elliot," I whispered. "Something is happening. Maybe you haven't crossed that line physically, but don't you dare stand there and pretend you haven't crossed it emotionally." Finally, he said, "It's not like that." And I snapped. "Then what is it, Elliot? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like the woman who moved in needing a place to heal is trying to take my place in my home, in my marriage, and in my daughter's life." His voice cracked. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. There it was. Not denial, not even guilt, just resignation. He knew, and he let it happen. I didn't say another word. I walked past him, straight into our bedroom, and began pulling clothes from drawers. I wasn't going to be the one who left my own house. Not yet. But I needed to leave something. That night, I slept on the couch in the art studio above our garage. Alone. Elliot didn't come after me. The next morning, Becca was gone before I came down. I took Sage to school like usual, then stopped by the local library and printed out a divorce checklist. It felt surreal. My hands shook as I read the steps. My body was going through the motions, but my brain hadn't caught up yet. I was a wife yesterday. Today, I was a ghost in my own life. Later that week, I got an email from Becca. She'd CC'd Elliot. "Nora, I think we all need to sit down and have a calm conversation about where things are going. I never intended for feelings to develop, but sometimes we can't control where life takes us. I love Elliot, and I know he loves me too. I hope one day you'll understand that this wasn't about taking your place. It was about finding where I truly belonged." Becca. I don't remember how long I stared at that screen. Where she truly belonged. As if this was her story. As if I was the interloper. As if I should step aside because she had finally claimed her prize. That night, I told Elliot he had 72 hours to figure out where he was going. I would stay in the house with Sage. He could go to Becca, or to hell. I didn't care which. He moved out the next day. He didn't even look at me when he packed. It was Sage who cried, who begged me to let Auntie Becca come back and live with us. She said she would always be here, she sobbed. I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and told her she was safe. But I couldn't stop shaking. I kept thinking, what if I had never checked the iPad? What if I had never walked in on Becca in my robe? Would they have kept going? Would they have waited until I was broken enough to leave on my own? Maybe that was the plan all along. But here's where things took a turn. 3 weeks after Elliot moved out, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo. A candid shot, grainy, clearly taken from a distance. It was Becca and Elliot, kissing. On a bench outside Sage's elementary school. I flipped the photo over. Scrawled in blue ink was one sentence. She's not his sister. I stared at the photo in my hand, heart racing so fast I thought I might pass out. Elliot and Becca. On a bench outside Sage's school. Kissing. I turned it over again. That handwriting, harsh, almost shaky. She's not his sister. I sat in the kitchen for what felt like hours. I went from denial to nausea to cold, blinding rage. My mind couldn't process what I was looking at. Becca wasn't his sister. Then who the hell was she? Why had I been told she was, and why? Why did this make everything that's happened make so much more sense? Every memory rushed back like a dam breaking. How Elliot had always brushed off questions about their childhood. How Becca never called him my brother in front of me. Just Elliot. How their interactions always felt just a little off. And the worst part? I believed it. I believed all of it. I married a man who lied about who someone was just to bring her into our home, into our daughter's life, into my place as his wife. And I let him. I stood up, grabbed my car keys, and drove straight to Elliot's rental. I didn't even knock. I pounded on the door until he answered. He opened it, shirtless, looking disheveled, like he'd just woken up. Behind him, on the couch, was Becca, wearing my old hoodie. I held up the photo. "Who took this?" he asked, eyes wide. "That's your first question?" I said, my voice shaking. "Not why someone would say you're not siblings? Not how long you plan to lie to me?" Becca stood up. "Nora, don't speak." I turned to Elliot. "I want the truth, right now, all of it. Or I swear to God I will bury you legally, financially, and publicly. Try me." He ran a hand through his hair. His face went pale. "She's not my sister," he said. The world tilted. "We met at a support group 6 years ago, right after we adopted Sage. I was overwhelmed, lost. She listened." My jaw clenched. "You told me she was your sister." "I needed a reason to keep her close," he said, barely above a whisper. "If I said she was a friend, you'd question it. But a sister? No one questions blood. You used our family, used me, as a cover for your affair. For 6 years," Becca cut in. "It wasn't always romantic. It started as emotional." "Don't flatter yourself," I snapped. "You moved into my house. You let my child call you Mommy Becca. What kind of person does that?" Becca looked away. I walked out without another word. When I got home, I collapsed on the floor in Sage's room. She wasn't there. She was at a sleepover. But I lay there surrounded by her drawings, her stuffed animals, her scent, and I cried like I hadn't in years. Cried for the woman I used to be, for the family I thought I had, for the child who still didn't know the truth. Later that night, after Sage was asleep, I pulled out my laptop. I needed to know who sent me that photo. I texted the one person I'd avoided all this time, Elliot's cousin, Mira. Mira had always been suspicious of Becca, even when she was first introduced at a family BBQ as the long-lost little sister. She never bought the story. Said Becca didn't even know Elliot's middle name when pressed. I sent Mira the photo. Her reply came seconds later. "I took that. I've been following them for a while, wanted to protect you. Also, her real name isn't Becca, it's Lauren, and she has a record." I froze. "Record?" "Yeah, 2 counts of identity fraud. One dropped, one sealed. Elliot bailed her out years ago. You should talk to a lawyer. I'm so sorry, Nora." That's when I knew. This wasn't just betrayal. This was manipulation on a criminal level. Elliot let someone with a known history of lying and fraud move in with our child. And worse, he let me believe she was family. I contacted a lawyer the next morning. But before I could make it to the appointment, there was a knock at my door. It was Becca. Or Lauren, I guess. She was crying. "Nora, please, don't do this. I know I messed up, but I love her. I love Sage. She loves me." I stared at her, speechless. She called me Mom again this morning, and I didn't correct her, because it felt real. "You stole that from me." "I know," she sobbed, "but you need to know. Elliot's been talking about getting full custody. He thinks you're unstable." My hands went cold. She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes. "He doesn't want you to have her." The door slowly closed in her face. I locked every bolt. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone. Because this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was a war for my daughter. I'm writing this now, still shaking. I don't know what hurts more, that the man I trusted would do this to me, or that I still sometimes wonder what I missed, what I let slide, what I excused in the name of love. If you've ever had someone dismantle your life while smiling in your face, I see you. If you've ever been replaced before you even realized you were being erased, I feel you. Please share your story in the comments if you've been through anything like this, because no one deserves to face this kind of heartbreak alone. The second I heard the word custody, something snapped inside me. Not fear, not sadness. It was fire. It was like every tear I'd cried in silence, every night I slept alone in the studio above our garage, every whispered lie Elliot fed me, all of it came to a boil in that moment. They were going after my daughter now. And they thought I'd just fold? I was done playing defense. I spent the next 3 days meeting with lawyers. Not just 1, 3. I wanted options, strategy, backup plans. I wanted to know how airtight my case was, how dirty they could get, and exactly how much of their house of cards I could knock down before they even realized I was holding the wind. Turns out, Lauren's record, yes, that's her real name, not Becca, was still accessible in certain databases. Her prior fraud conviction may have been sealed, but the bail paperwork? Not so much. She used a different name when she applied for work at Sage's school as a part-time arts assistant. And worse? She had a photo of Sage on her private social media, captioned, "My Little Light." That gave me leverage. Big leverage. I filed for an emergency custody protection order the next morning. My lawyer advised me not to notify Elliot yet. Let the court do that. Let him wake up to the sound of legal reality slamming against his front door. But that wasn't enough for me. I needed them to feel it. So I made one more call. To Mira, Elliot's cousin, the one who sent me the photo. Turns out she had even more dirt. Messages, emails, screenshots of conversations where Elliot coached Lauren on how to behave, what to say, how to manipulate me while they slowly erased me from my own life. He literally wrote, "Just act like her shadow. Eventually, she'll stop trying to shine." That line nearly made me vomit. But I saved it. Saved everything. Because when someone underestimates you for so long, they forget that quiet doesn't mean weak. It means watching. And I had watched enough. On the day of the court hearing, Elliot walked in like he was strolling into brunch. Lauren was behind him in a floral dress, looking like some tragic Pinterest stepmom cosplay. When they saw me with my lawyer, and a second one from Child Protective Services, they started sweating. The judge asked if we'd all reviewed the emergency motion. Elliot tried to speak. My lawyer raised a hand. "Your Honor, before we begin, I'd like to submit an updated exhibit for review." She handed over a file. Inside, screenshots, identity discrepancies, statements from Sage's teachers about how confused she'd become lately, drawing pictures of two moms, talking about how Aunt Lauren sleeps in Mommy's bed sometimes when Mommy's not home. The judge's face went cold. Elliot started stammering. Lauren looked pale. "I thought that was private." "It's about a child," the judge interrupted. "Nothing is private when it becomes a pattern of deception affecting her mental and emotional health." Within 20 minutes, the court ordered temporary full custody to me, with a mandatory psychological evaluation for Elliot and a full background check for Lauren. She wasn't even allowed to be within 500 feet of Sage's school anymore. I walked out of that courtroom feeling not victorious, but whole. And for the first time in months, I exhaled. That night, Sage and I baked cookies. She danced around the kitchen in her little apron, giggling, smearing flour on her nose. I watched her and thought, this is what they tried to take from me. The real things, the quiet things, the soul of motherhood. But they forgot something. They forgot who they were messing with. Just when I thought I could finally rest, the twist came. 2 days later, a man showed up at my door. Tall, mid-40s, quiet energy. He handed me a small envelope and said, "I'm sorry to bring this to you in person, but I thought it should come from someone who understands." Inside the envelope was a birth certificate. Lauren's. Same name, same birth date. But the father's name? Elliot Montgomery. And in that moment, everything collapsed. Lauren wasn't just a con artist pretending to be Elliot's sister. She was his daughter, from a relationship he had when he was barely an adult. One he never told me about. One he reconnected with secretly. One he invited into our home. He had brought his own child into our marriage, hidden her identity, let her dismantle my world. All under the name family. And it wasn't about love. It was about control. If your jaw just dropped reading this, trust me, you're not alone. I haven't slept since that day. Not properly. Because now, I have to face a truth that's worse than betrayal. It's the feeling of being used as a prop in someone else's unresolved trauma. If you've ever been pulled into someone's mess so deep that you lost your own identity, I see you. If someone ever turned your kindness into a weapon against you, please share your story below. I don't know what happens next, but I promise you this, I'm not done yet. I stared at the birth certificate so long I forgot how to blink. Elliot Montgomery, listed as father. Lauren Yvette Carter, his daughter, not his sister. And I was the woman he married while hiding her from me. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was generational rot. Legacy-level manipulation. He hadn't fallen in love with a stranger. He had invited his own abandoned past into our marriage and handed her the keys to my life. And he let her destroy me. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in the dark, wrote everything down, and printed a folder's worth of evidence. Birth certificates, court transcripts, timelines, photographs, and the worst one, a printout of Elliot's own text telling Lauren, "We'll make her feel crazy first, then she'll leave quietly." The next morning, I handed that folder to my lawyer. By the following week, it was submitted to the judge as part of a formal motion to terminate Elliot's parental rights due to psychological manipulation, willful concealment of harmful familial relationships, and exposing Sage to repeated emotional harm. The court took it seriously. They ordered a full psychological evaluation. Elliot failed, badly. They subpoenaed Lauren's records from other states. 2 more fraud cases surfaced, one still pending in Maine. My lawyer built a timeline showing how Elliot had used Sage as emotional leverage to gaslight me into surrendering custody, how he tried to push me out of my own life while slowly grooming our daughter to see Lauren as her real mom. It was more than enough. At the final hearing, Elliot looked like a shell of the man I once knew. Lauren wasn't even allowed in the building. The judge didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He looked straight at Elliot and said, "Mr. Montgomery, this court finds your conduct deceptive, dangerous, and emotionally negligent. You have demonstrated no capacity for remorse. Therefore, you are hereby stripped of all legal rights to the child in question. You are to have no further contact with her, directly or indirectly, without express court approval." I didn't celebrate. I simply nodded, walked out, and closed the door behind me. Later that day, I took Sage to the park. She swung on the monkey bars while I sat on the bench, watching her laugh like nothing had ever touched her. She didn't ask about Elliot. She didn't mention Lauren. Instead, she said, "Can we paint together tonight?" And I realized this was closure, not a courtroom, not a verdict, not even revenge. But this, quiet peace, uninterrupted love, safety earned. 2 days later, Lauren went viral, for all the wrong reasons. A former co-worker from Maine exposed her real identity on TikTok. The video showed screenshots, mugshots, and even clips from her mommy influencer account where she claimed to be a single mother of 2, using Sage's photo in the background. Within hours, everything unraveled. She lost her job. Her social profiles were suspended. By week's end, she was trending on Reddit under "R quit your bullshit." Even Mira texted me. She finally crashed her own narrative. Elliot, humiliated and isolated, moved back in with his aging mother in Arizona. No custody, no house, no image left to maintain. The last thing I heard, he told someone, she wasn't supposed to fight back. And that's the thing. I didn't want revenge, but I refused to be erased. I was the woman they thought would stay quiet, until I became the storm that swallowed their lies whole. Not everyone who walks into your life deserves to stay. And sometimes, justice doesn't sound like a gavel hitting the bench. It sounds like your own voice, steady and strong, finally speaking up for yourself. If you've ever been used, lied to, or made to feel invisible in your own life, I hope you know you're not alone. I'd love to hear your story if you're ready to share it. And if this feels like a piece of your own journey, you're welcome to stay here with me.